the scourge of the capital wasteland in the Commonwealth, a history of experiments, genetic manipulation, and an exposure to a deadly virus. Hey guys, it's Skull157, and today we are going to be looking into the history of the Deathclaws, what we know about them, and the different variations that are found throughout the Commonwealth and the capital wasteland. Created by the US government before the Great War to supplement US troops on the battlefield, the idea was to create a lab animal to minimise human casualties on the battlefield when in truth something quite different was created. Government and military scientists used a whole host of animal DNA to create the creature that they desired. Primarily the DNA was used from the very common Jackson chameleon. The result was truly terrifying. An incredibly fast, powerful, 10-foot monster with razor-sharp claws and almost intelligent. The government had created a true living nightmare, and one that still haunts the capital wasteland and Commonwealth to this day. Deathclaws are tough as hell, have lots of health, and are incredibly resistant to most damage types, particularly energy damage. Their hides have also been known to reflect energy weapons back when fired directly at them. Their combat style makes them difficult to deal with, even if they are at a lower level. When aggravated, they will start roaring and stomping on the ground. This is normally a sign that whatever has annoyed the Deathclaw is about to get a serious fucking ass kicking. Predominantly they use their claws whilst fighting, however they have also been known to headbutt their enemy. On a side note, fuck getting headbutted by a Deathclaw, look at the size of the thing's fucking head! Other abilities that the Deathclaw have is they can actually climb over objects such as small cars, which is very unique for an enemy within Fallout that's a normal enemy, because nothing else in Fallout can do so. Super mutants, raiders, Yaoguais, nothing else other than Deathclaws have the ability to actually climb over things, which seems small, but it's still something unique that the Deathclaw has. Deathclaws also have the ability to instantly kill humanoids, either by grabbing them and smashing them into the ground or decapitating them with their claws. Deathclaws also have a substantial amount of natural armour and resistant to damage on their scales. However, they do have one weak spot, the soft skin on their belly, which takes increased energy damage. However, don't be fooled by this weak spot, as it's tough, it's really hard to hit, and not only that, you'll be lucky enough to survive that long to even get close to it. Now unfortunately, the Deathclaws can be found anywhere in the Commonwealth, which is bad news for settlers, raiders, gunners, super mutants, and pretty much anyone or anything within the Commonwealth, except Yaoguais. They give no fucks for anything. Deathclaws appear more frequently in the Golden Sea, however, which is more of a blessing because it's a less populated area. However, not so much for those wishing to explore the Golden Sea, as it is the Deathclaws' favourite habitat, so therefore you can expect much more encounters with the Deathclaws out there. Like any enemy in Fallout, there are different variations of Deathclaw, and they can range from the normal Deathclaw to the albino, or even to the mythic Deathclaw. So let's take a look at all the variations of the Deathclaws. Normal Deathclaws. Normal Deathclaws are highly dangerous for poorly leveled players, and still present a challenge for those at higher levels as well. Normal Deathclaws have been noted to charge headfirst at their enemies, whilst protecting their weak underbellies. Alpha Deathclaws. Alpha Deathclaws have horns that spread forward and up, while regular Deathclaws is forward and down. Alpha Deathclaws also have a rust coloured skin, more health, and do much more damage than lesser Deathclaws. Glowing Deathclaw. The glowing Deathclaw is a highly irradiated version of the standard Deathclaw. A green light emits from the skin between their scales, and they can inflict radiation damage to anyone they fight, on top of their massive ballistic damage. Deathclaw Matriarch. As the name implies, the matriarchs are the female leaders of the species. They have less health than an alpha, but much more than a normal Deathclaw. Their horns curve out and down compared to the alpha's forward and up, have massive strength, and can take a serious amount of damage before dying. Savage Deathclaw. A Savage Deathclaw is rumoured to be a former Deathclaw matriarch that has lost her place as the female leader in the pack to another female. Their broken horn is a result of the fight for dominance. This can be seen by them both having the same colour of skin and yellow lines between their body and the spread of the horn, which leads many people to believe that this was a Deathclaw matriarch. Albino Deathclaw. The Albino Deathclaw is a pale version of the Deathclaw with more health. This can make it a right pain in the ass to deal with. And not only that, it will only lose a quarter of its health from a shot from the mysterious stranger, which just shows just how much health the albino Deathclaw really has. Chameleon Deathclaw. The Chameleon Deathclaw has a default colour that is a slightly sandy tone of a regular Deathclaw. However, when aggravated, it will display colours depending on its mood and movements in battle. It flickers between stone grey, acid green, red, orange and teal. Whenever it's killed, the body also retains the last colour that it was used, so if you kill it when it was red, the corpse will be red. The Chameleon Deathclaw also has much more health than the previous versions and does a serious amount of damage when attacking opponents. The Mythic Deathclaw. Mythic Deathclaws are the toughest out of all the non-legendary Deathclaws. They have the most health, they do the highest damage, they take the most damage to kill, obviously that being with the most health. They're also immune to the Wasteland Whisperer perk, so if you thought you were going to waltz on in and be able to fucking be buddies with this guy, think again, because it ain't happening. In 2235, the Enclave captured many Deathclaws and exposed them to the FEV, the Forced Evolutionary Virus. The exposure to the FEV boosted their intelligence and given them the ability to talk with varying degrees, from pure dribble, which I'm speaking most of, and others having the ability to have full-on conversations. A common issue with the FEV was sterility caused to other races. However, the Deathclaws were immune to the sterility caused by the FEV, and to this day it is still unknown how they are able to resist the strain and still reproduce. As a result of exposure to the FEV by the Enclave, a subspecies of Deathclaw was created, and they were highly intelligent for animals, with some even being on par with the average human adult. Their learning capacity was very high, and they were capable of abstract thought and reasoning. Although they did not have vocal cords, Deathclaws seemed to be able to mimic human speech in the same way a parrot does. Socially, they had a rigid hierarchy of a pack-based structure. They were extremely loyal to their pack, treating it as a family rather than having individual families. The pack leader controlled many aspects of the pack's life, including choosing mating pairs for reproduction. Due to the pack leader's level of control, fights within the pack were unheard of. One of the most intelligent Deathclaws ever was Gruthar. By far the most impressive and strongest, Gruthar was an alpha male and a leader. He possessed uncanny intellect and a deep life philosophy, respecting human life and trying to minimize the impact he and his pack made on their unknowing neighbors. However, Gruthar didn't like all humans. Despite being bred by the Enclave forces, he harbored a hatred and extreme dislike for them. Personally, I don't know why. The Enclave are awesome, and I actually miss the good old Enclave. Anyway, he had to cope with his conscience as he and his pack took part in a massacre of Vault 13, something he takes complete responsibility for and his pack's actions during the massacre of the Vault inhabitants. Sometime later, Deathclaws were soon refined by the man known as the Master, Richard Moreau, also known as Richard Grey. This was done using genetic manipulation and exposing the Deathclaws to the Master's enhanced Forced Evolutionary Virus to turn them into his minions. Deathclaws are one of the toughest enemies in all of Fallout, and to think that Deathclaws all came from government experiments before the war to prevent human casualties in war, when in truth they created a monster that has been terrorizing the capital wasteland and Commonwealth for hundreds of years, and still is to this day. They have been responsible for countless human deaths. Instead of the government creating what they thought was going to be a mindless animal to be cannon fodder on the battlefield, they created an apex predator, one that is at the top of the food chain and has been since its creation. Anyway guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Deathclaws are the apex predators in Fallout, or do you think it's something else? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and once again, thank you very much for watching.